Oh, this is not working. All right. Not sure if my audio is working, but hope everybody's doing well today. We're going to be looking at some apartment complexes. See if I can get this figured out. I still haven't figured out this whole Twitch thing yet, but we're just going to get into it. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Check, check, check. I think that's right. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on. And there we go. All right. So let's take a look at what's going on in the market. So first thing I want to do today is I want to look at some of the market reports that we're looking at. So our focus today is going to be on the multi-family space. I'm going to give you some context. We're gonna look at our different asset types. So we're going to take a look at real quick at the office space, industrial space, retail, as well as hospitality space in the Houston market. So let's go into Houston. Here we are. This is my world right now. If you're joining this stream, let me know where you're joining from, and if you have questions or want to ask about the multifamily space, let me know. So here we are in Houston. So office space right now. This is going back up through Q4 of 2024, all the way. Excuse me, Q3 and 4 of last year, and then Q1 and 2 of this year. So Q3 data should be out in the next week or so. So we'll have some updates there. So right now, office space. First thing I want to notice is our vacancy rate in the Houston market is it's still high. It's at 19.6%. Kind of high. Let's let this load. So office space is at 19.6%. Our asking our rent growth is increasing though over the last 12 months. We can jump in here, but I keep looking at that vacancy rate. Now, what's interesting is, as scary as the office market looks, it's on average right now we're trading at a 10 cap. So financing on this is a little easier than some of these other asset types. Obviously, when you see an asset type like this that is trading at a higher cap rate, a lot of it is probably because the buyers of these asset types are more owner occupiers than investors. Let's just look at industrial. Industrial's been performing much better in the Houston market than the office space has. Right now, vacancy rates are 7.3%. I love the industrial space. I think a lot of people would agree over time. It's the least headache when it comes to owning, holding. It's pretty simple because you get tenants in there that will stay for years. Cap rate's a little bit lower, but also you get a lot of your time back. with an asset type like this. Um, but most you're going to have more investor owned properties right here. So I want to look at construction versus absorption. I want to explain this. So right now we have a surplus of new construction. This is increased over the last 6 months because right now under construction we have close to 22 million square feet versus a 10 million net absorption. So this is the number. This is what's been purchased, and this is what's been built. So I actually have twice as much being built as I do being purchased. Other thing that's really kind of not fun to look at is we do have a pretty high level of inventory compared to the absorption rate. So we've, the industrial sector is they're building faster than they're selling. That is the case with, we'll go back to office. That's the case with office space too. We have 2.5 under construction and absorptions at 1.5. It's it's similar. It's like twice as much being built. Then we go to retail, and this is a little bit different story. So retail surprisingly has recovered a lot. Vacancy rates overall in Houston are averaging at 5.3%. You go over to like college, not College Station, but Killeen, Hill Country, Austin. Those vacancy rates are stupid low. Like right now is a good time to own a strip center in Austin, Texas, because they're full. They're 97% full for those retail strip centers. So that's very interesting. But Houston's still good. Houston's still good. Um, and retail in Houston cap rates at 7.3. Let's take a real quick look at the hospitality sector. So they don't do square feet. They do doors or keys right here. So delivered rooms. This is not a lot. 852 rooms that were developed in the last 12 months. We still have quite a bit more under construction. And the occupancies at 63%. So there is almost a 40% vacancy in the hospitality. Um, but click on this and show market cap rates right now. This number is really high. 11.5% cap rate. We're going to break down some multifamily properties today. We're going to show how that cap rate really affects the value, how it affects the buyer, how it affects the seller. Um, Hospitality right now has the highest cap rate. Part of the reason is because it's been so stressful in the hospitality industry the past 5 years. Um, Owners of these hotels have they've got notes coming due. They have what's called in the hospitality industry a PIP, property improvement plan, and they've got timelines that they have to meet. And sometimes it's easier just to sell it, just to get out of it. So we see a lot of that happening in the hospitality. So um, this is my area right here is the multifamily space. Vacancy rates are moderately high. Um, I never would have known that the vacancy rates in multifamily are at 12%. This cap rate, I don't understand why it's that low because that doesn't seem possible for a cap rate to be that low because I'm seeing 8 to 10% in what I'm seeing. And what I'm going to show you today is going to be way above that today. So, but vacancy rates are high. They're they were a year ago, they were 11.28. But like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they were like 6 or 7. So we've got 700 and almost a million units, 736 inventory units, 9,000 under construction. Now, this is where the tables are turning, and we got to be paying attention to the multifamily space because this is under construction. You got 9,000 units under construction, but this is the asset class where absorption is outpacing construction, which basically means people are buying. Absorption is purchasing. So they're buying faster than they're constructing. Now it's slowed down, but the construction has slowed down like a whole lot. Like a year ago, it was backwards. We had 22,000 under construction. Now we have 9,000. So construction has slowed down, which is good. It's giving buyers a time to catch up, which is going to just naturally raise the prices. Values are going to just naturally, and that's probably what's contributing to this lower cap rate here. So, okay, so let's go in. We're going to look at comps. So, next thing I want to look at is what is selling. Um, I'm going to do this from scratch. I am in CoStar, and CoStar is related to LoopNet. If you don't know the difference, I would love to be able to explain it to you. So, I'm going to look at the multifamily. I'm going to look at everything that has sold just in the last month or so, last 3 months. Let's go to, we're at the end of September. Let's go to August, excuse me, August 31st. So this is what's sold in the last month. We're going to look, take a dive at 38 sold comps. And then we also are looking at properties that are under contract. So I'm going to unselect that real quick. So in the last month, we got 23 multifamilies. I'm going to sort these by the cap rate. Just kind of see what's interesting. Sort by cap rate. Ew. All right, so we were talking about this one on Holman. This is an 8 unit that sold. This one sold at a 9.28% cap rate. 8 unit. Um, we looked at this one. We had several people looking at this one. 110,000 a unit. That just closed. I'm gonna make sure I have a little bit of music on. If y'all can hear the music. I don't know. It's not working. So moving on. So what do we know about this property? So 4 1s, 4 2 bedrooms. This is the one that the 2 bedroom units were the same size as the 1 bedroom units. So cap rate. So I don't have any 10 caps that have sold. Yeah, I don't have any financials. I don't know what the vacancy was on that. I wanted to see what that was. But 110,000 a unit for something. Seems a little high. Now I've got the music playing. Okay. All of a sudden the music started playing. So cool little property. Made it look real nice. Let's see what else is out there. So that's sold. That's good. 3257 Holman. That was right in the heart of downtown. No data on anything else except for did have a 6.4 cap sell on Portsmouth. It was a 6 unit, but really nothing that big. I got a Allen Genoa. No sales price on this. No listing broker. So this was a for sale by owner that was on LoopNet. So what was he asking? No idea. What did it sell for? No idea. But he sold it, and it had been on the market 154 units on South Shaver. So it's sold, but there's no agent on the deal. There's no prices. So the data on that, that's welcome to Texas. We'll never know. We will never know what that sold for. All right. Anything else? I'm not seeing any, like none of these other properties we know about. Got some 220s. I mean, these things are selling, 200, 800 unit. It's probably the biggest one. What was the biggest one? Size. Other than a portfolio. This is part of a 413 property portfolio. 540 units, 881 units, 500 units. Oh, this one, 4811. I did not know this sold. The Oaks at Baywood. This is by my house. This is new. It's not that new. Another one that we're not going to know what it actually sold for, but that's pretty nice. That's right on the Beltway 8 and close to like Spencer Highway. So that's nothing else that I know about Southgate. There was one in Pearland that sold, and I could call these people. They were asking 4.75 million for 40 units. 475 divided by 40 units. About 118,000 a unit. Pretty decent. They call this a B class or a C class? Class C. Most of these are probably C's. I don't know, this one in Pasadena. Did they call that a B? They called it an A. Well, good for them. That's an A class. Yay. What does an A class go for? Like 160 to 200,000 a door. This is the assessment. So it assessed for 171,000 a unit. That could have been it. Could have been it. Now, what was the cap rate on that? Not sure. Here's another one. That was in Pasadena. That's on South Allen, Genoa. 276. This is part of a portfolio, the bulk portfolio. So for $1.35 billion sale right here. Who was on this deal? No buyer on the deal, no listing broker. It sold for $1.35 billion portfolio. But it was a huge portfolio. We previously announced acquisition of Bridge Investment Group in an all-stock transaction valued at $1,354,278,295. That would have been a nice commission to have. Is there any, maybe we can get the next one. So, next thing I want to do on CoStar, we're 21 minutes in. I want to look at now if you're an investor, if you're trying to become the expert in your market, one of the best things you can do is just look at this stuff on a weekly or a couple of times a week. Just look at this stuff. What is this? Some of this stuff I'll see it that is sold and I don't even remember seeing it. 535 units, distress sale. So taxes were C class, no brokers, and bank sale. 534 units. That's a big apartment complex. Don't know. I don't even know where this is. Glenmont Drive. I just copied the address. 5909 Glenmont. Okay. Right off the South Freeway. And yeah, I've been there before. I don't know if I'll ever go back. But yeah, we call that a C. It has like a nice common area, conference area. But who knows? Okay, so let's see what's on the market today. We're gonna switch gears. We're gonna go to all properties. Actually, I have a shortcut right there that for multifamily. Address, location. When you're searching for these properties, when you type in the city, don't do Houston city. Don't ever do the city of Houston because the city of Houston looks stupid. It looks like a spider. You want to do just the general, just the Houston market. Or you do it like that. So that gives you the whole general Houston market. Or you can search. When we go to Crexy, we're going to search by county in Crexy, but you never want to use city limits to search for a property because it's like a spider web. You're going to miss things. In Houston, the way Houston's laid out doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm going to sort by cap rate. So I know that where's my cap rate at? Am I overlooking it? Let's sort by. This is multifamily. Oh, I forgot to look at what was under contract. Let me try something else. So Houston, CoStar market, for sale, multifamily. All right, these are all the multifamily units that are on CoStar or LoopNet at the moment. Now, I think I can do cap right now. So you'll see a lot of these are price not disclosed. Oh, am I tripping? It's not showing me the cap rate. I don't remember seeing this mobile home mobile home park. San Leon. San Leon. Oh yeah, I've seen this park. This one, I thought this one sold. Pramani, Osmus, Bay Osmus. I thought this one sold. Okay, so I got a sales price of 4.2 million. Got pull up some financials now. Okay, this is done. So this, so if I remember correctly, we're in the year 2025. So why do we have 21 and 23 P&L? The world may never know. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so my eye, gross profit, blah, 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 blah. This 85,000 is their net operating income. I'll come back to this. The net operating income is what I say was 85,000. Let's call it 86,000. So I'm going to take this 86,000. So what I'm going to do, because they don't put a cap rate there, 86,000 and 4.2 million. So we're going to look and see, does this deal make any sense at all? This is a two cap. So if your bank's not going to finance at 2%, this is probably not going to work. In fact, what I would do, if you're making 86,000, I need my um, cap rate to at least match the interest rate, 7.25%. So I'm going to divide. So what I'm doing is I'm dividing the income by the desired cap rate, and I would send her an offer. I wouldn't have any shame sending an offer at 1.2 million on this property. I wouldn't have any shame. You know why? Because that's what it's worth. And you know what she's going to say? Well, you can raise the rents. No, you raise the rents. You're the one who's selling it. So it may take me 12 months to get the rents up. And so, you know, I need to be making four times. I don't need to be making 86,000. I need to be making like 340,000 to justify a $4.2 million. So this is, yeah, RV Park. Nobody's going to buy that. Um, does this literally say it's a 500 square foot mobile home park for $6.5 million? People will list anything, won't they? I don't know why it's not showing the vacancy on here. Okay, so 44 units. So it's actually 370,000 square feet. That's per unit. Do we have? Okay, so this is owner for sale by owner. See, these for sale by owners are literally putting their information on LoopNet right now. So any agent can just get on here and be like, James, what the hell? Come on, James. You want to get this sold or not? Well, let's talk about what needs to happen to get it sold. So do I have financials? So in CoStar, when you click on financials, 9 out of 10 times, it's going to show, don't look at any of this stuff. It's going to show this, read this sentence, showing financials for this market, AKA they ain't got no financials on here. But let me go back because I still think it's interesting to look at this because there's a couple of metrics. If you can remember some of these metrics, it'll give you a lot of authority. And I'll show you a couple of metrics to kind of think about. So income. So this is for apartment complexes. So this is, again, this is market. This is per unit. So effective gross income per unit, you notice in 22 was 13,000, 14,000, 14,000. So that's per year. So it's a little over $1,000 per unit. That's for every apartment complex that CoStar has acquired data on. And by the way, when I met with CoStar a couple of months ago, I asked them, is this all this data? Is it just data that you have on CoStar? And the answer is no. They actually have pulled this data from a lot of other resources, supposedly, that we don't see. So supposedly this is more accurate than if I would actually just run the data. The reason why that's an important question in Texas is a non-disclosure state. 80 to 90% of the records that we have are not disclosed. So my question really is like, how do you actually know that it's 14,000? There's so many unaccounted for variables. And they say, well, it's accurate. We know it somehow. They know it. Okay, operating expenses. So when we're coaching our listings, or if buyers are really wanting to go dig into this, operating expenses should be somewhere around 8,000, 7,000, 8,000 per unit. it's more important to base it like on a percentage. And I'll show you how to do that. So like, let's look at, for instance, 2024. So 8,066. We're going to divide that by 14,848. So I just want to know on a percentage base, this is your expense ratio. Okay, so let me explain this really well, because when you're looking at apartments and you're reviewing financials, this is where you can help a buyer understand the potential. Your expense ratio should be between 55 and 60%. So if your expense ratio is at 60%, your profit margin should be at 40%. This is why real estate is the best business on the planet, because there's no other industry outside of real estate that runs on a 40% profit margin. If you look at different industries, you could probably chat GPT. I'm gonna show you something. Okay, what is the typical profit margin for a restaurant? I spelled restaurant right. I waited tables all throughout my 20s and I never learned how to spell the word right. Like, this is crazy. Like, if you think of a restaurant, 3 to 5% profit margin. What's the typical profit margin for a auto mechanic shop? 10 to 15% profit margins. And give me 5 to 10 industries with their typical profit margins. So restaurants are 3 to 5, fast food 6 to 9%, auto shops are 10 to 15, construction 10%. Even real estate brokerages are lower. Retail software's up to 30. Software, law firms, service-based industries are going to be typically be higher. They should be, because they're not having to sell products. They don't have material expenses. Healthcare is 20%. So all these different industries, like, nothing competes um, with that 40%, 35 to 40%. But that's where apartments should be. So, oh, look, it did the math for me. I just like using my calculator. So 55%, that's the typical expense ratio. Your profit margin should be the opposite of that number. So the opposite of 54% is 46%. So that's really like kind of when it comes to just like analyzing a profit and loss statement, you want to make sure that now, if your profit's like 95%, that raises other questions too, because when the profit is ridiculously high, there's no expenses. Are you paying your taxes? By the way, taxes and insurance are in there. They're in there. So some things to think about. Okay, here's a good one. DSCR. I'm not sure how they know this, because we're going to look at DSCR here in just about 2 minutes. But I'm glad we're talking about this because this is interesting. But banks are looking at 1.25. There's a lot of properties on the market that are not. A one is for every dollar that you're paying on your mortgage, you're making a dollar back. So a 1.0 DSCR is a break even. So anything above one is cash on cash return. It's a return on your investment. It's the money you have after you pay your mortgage. Anything below a one, like if you go to California or Colorado or New York, It's actually costing you money to, like, you're having to pay out of pocket to cover your mortgage. But hey, Texas is making money. So if you're not in the beautiful Republic of Texas, putting your money into the real estate, then what are you doing with your life? I just don't know. Okay. We're going to switch gears. I'm going to go until 1:30. What I want to do now is I want to look at some properties. I'm going to go over to Crexie. I'm going to shut CoStar down. We could spend a lot more time on CoStar. What I'm finding is there's people have discovered Crexie, and I'm not going to get into all the politics, but it's more affordable than CoStar. So we're starting to see more people are using Crexie. My job is to educate people so they understand the pros and cons of all these and how LoopNet and CoStar work together and how Crexie is separate and all that. Most people don't understand that. So I'm going to go, I'm going to start with this one property. I'm going to be selfish and look at my save property. I've got 1810 Costa Road, Alvin, Texas. Got this listed for $649,000. Little 8 unit. I know the people that live there, they're nice. Nice, hardworking people. You gotta pay attention to Alvin because Alvin is growing. They got the 96 corridor coming in. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna do a evaluation. We're gonna talk about all the things. And I want to do 3 of these before we leave for the day. But right now, without even punching anything in, with an operating income, so that's your net profit. So that's your rental income minus your expenses, and it results in a net income of $67,000. And that's probably conservative on this one. So down payment, $25,000, 25% down payment. The interest rate of 7.25. So your loan amount is $486,000. Your down payment's $162,000. So with that financing, your annual debt service is going to be about $42,220 per year. That's a 25-year amortization. And if I shorten the amortization, your debt service will go up. However, there's another level to this. When I lower the term, your debt service goes up. But like if I say 15, or it goes down. Why would somebody want to do shorter amortization? Well, when you pay it off faster. You end up over time paying less interest. But you may have a 5-year exit strategy, and you may be looking in this, at year to year. Okay, so 649 net operating income of $67,000. My down payment is not going to be 70%. My down payment is probably going to be, let's say 30, $200,000. Pull in a couple partners, pull in $200,000. This property could easily be yours. You're going to borrow $454,000 from the bank. Your annual debt service is going to be $39,000. So your monthly mortgage, and this doesn't include taxes and insurance. Your taxes and insurance are included in this number. So don't worry, taxes and insurance is one of the expenses. And we can look at the comps if you want. So what is annual cash flow? 27,000. So that 27,000, that's the amount of money that's going to be left over after you pay your mortgage. So once I pay that mortgage at 3283, that's my mortgage bill that I pay to the bank. This is what I have left over on this property. 23. Now what we're going to do, we're going to think, okay, if I had $194,000 and I put it in the stock market, I'm not looking at the cap rate for my return. I'm looking at this ROI because I'm not investing $650. I'm investing 194,000. So after I pay the bank, this is what I have left over. This is my cash flow. And the return on that investment annually is going to come out to 15%. So the DSCR is basically for every dollar I pay on my mortgage, I'm getting 70 cents. I'm keeping 70 cents. So this is pretty good. This works. Now if your interest rate is higher, so look at, first of all, so we're going to toggle. Let's toggle between 7.25 and 7.5. Your mortgage is just a quarter of a point. So now I'm at 7.25. Your mortgage is less than $3,300. If I go to 7.5, it's going to go from 3,300 guess to 3,350. So not even $100, but that $100 makes your ROI go from 14 to 13.7. So interest rate does make a little bit of difference. If I can get to 7%, it drops to 32.10. So for every quarter, it's about $70 difference per month. So this is definitely a deal worth looking at. And why hasn't it sold? Well, there's a few reasons why it hasn't sold. A lot of people are looking at this, having a hard time getting financing. The bank looked at it, felt like the apartment needed some work. And then we got buyers looking at larger units. So we're going to look at some bigger properties today. So I'm going to go and start a whole new search for you. So we're going to look at multifamily. I'm going to remove the RV parks for today. And what I want to look at is I'm going to look at Harris County. And I'm going to look at Brazoria County. So we never look for city. I'm going to look at Galveston County. There we go. Multifamily. Let's get two. And I can narrow this to. So I had 236 listings. When I narrowed it down to the 8 caps or more, it cut it by 90%. What? I don't know what just happened. We're going to find a deal. All of a sudden, we have a technological. We're gonna wait it out for a minute. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you could probably add Fort Bend in there too. Okay, so we're going to sort this by cap rate, high to low, and we're about to see some familiar faces. All right, we have been at this property 5 times. Know everything about this property. We'll talk about it later. Lavender 2, Avenue Q, probably not big enough. Let's narrow it down a little bit by unit count a little bit. Unit minimum units. Let's do 16 to 999. 3 listings. So I only got 16 units, and of course it's going to be Lavender and Gulf Freeway. This one is back. Okay. Um, this is the deal that we need to take down today. I've already looked at this deal. I'm looking at it again. Nobody has bought it. I got on the phone with the agent. I'm actually friends with this agent. And the first thing that caught my eye, and I never saw this before, but they're advertising it at 9.33. They have a pro forma cap rate of 8.6. The pro forma is lower than the cap rate. And asked them, I've never seen a listing with a pro forma. Everybody's more optimistic, and you're being pessimistic about your own listing, which is interesting. He said, yeah, because we don't have property management factored in there. I'm like, touche. So your pro forma NOI, and we can break down the NOI, but if I already know what that NOI is, let's just evaluate the deal. So here we're gonna go through this one more time. So I'm basing it off of NOI of 167,000. It's right here. I'm gonna give them the benefit. I'm gonna go back to they're asking 195, 1.95. Okay. So right now we got a couple of things. So purchase price of 1.95, net operating income of 1675. Now, if I'm buying this thing cash, this is a good way to explain it. If I'm buying the thing cash, then turn the music off. It's annoying me. If I'm going to buy the thing cash, your cap rate and your ROI will be the same because I'm investing 1.95 million and I'm going to get a return of 167,000. And so my return is 8.6%. But here's the power of leverage. Here's where the power of leverage comes in. Because the less money I put into a project, so notice the cap rate doesn't move. The cap rate has nothing to do with the financing terms. The cap rate is only based on purchase price versus the profit. However, there's another layer to the sandwich when you introduce financing. So if you were to put 30% down, your investment is not 1.95. No, your investment is 585,000. Now your net operating income is still going to be the same. However, your mortgage is going to come out of here. So your mortgage is not part of the expense. Your mortgage comes after your profit. So you got your gross income, all your rental income, you take all that money, then you pay all your bills, including your taxes and insurance, but not your mortgage. That's where you get your net operating income. Once you subtract the mortgage out of it, that's your cash flow. So we're going to break this down. So if I'm putting 30% down, if I'm putting 585 down on a purchase of 1.95, my loan amount is 1.365. So I'm borrowing 1.3, I'm investing 5.8. The banks actually investing 70%, you're investing 30. However, you own it. Your debt service at 7.5% is going to be 121,000 a year or 10,000 a month. If you can negotiate this rate by 25, it's going to go down to 985. So this is a really good calculator to use. The term on the years, if I go down, if the bank wants you to do a 20-year term, look what happens to the debt service. My mortgage is going to go up. So if my mortgage goes up, my return on investment goes down. Now, again, some people add a few more layers of math to this. The reason why somebody might want to go lower on their mortgage is because you just end up over time, you pay less on interest. But if you're looking for that cash flow, you want to get a better term, get a lower interest rate, even get your down payment. Notice as I'm you can play with that calculator. So you see there, look at the cash flow as I increase my payment, my cash flow increases, but because my down payment, the more I increase my down payment, the higher ROI I get. So it does affect it. So go back to 30%. So if we can do 30%, 7.25 interest rate, 25-year term, we're at a 1.42 DSCR. Remember, banks are looking for 1.25 or higher. So the higher we can get above a 1.25, the better. Now, say this thing was making 67,000, is bleeding money in this situation. Anything below one is bleeding money. So you got to get that number above 1.25. So cap rate 8.6, 8.43. So a lot of people are looking for 10% on their ROI, which I think is perfectly reasonable. So we can get funding on this. So that's like the first number we look at. If we can get funded, if we can prove that it can get a 1.25 DSCR. But this might not be good enough. So let's just ask for a haircut. Let's come down to let's see if we can negotiate one. Just by coming down 100,000, we get that ROI up to 10%. 1.85 million will get us to 10.82. So I like this deal. This is one of my favorites. I'm sharing this with my buyers. I think somebody should buy this. I'm sharing this one with my buyers. This one, we'll take another look at this one. It's been a minute since I looked at it. This is the same owner. So this is a 12 cap. This is 34 units. This is Lavender. Let me show you where this is. Yeah, I think you should buy this. I have a video. If you text message me 281-729-6604, I will send you the video. I did a walkthrough. He did a lot of work on this property. Let me close this one out on Lavender. Okay, so they're advertising a 12 cap. His net operating income is 286. So let's play with this. So if we let's do a 7.5% interest rate. We're going to get that down payment down to 30. So at ask price of 2.55, net income of 286,000. That's after taxes and insurance and utilities and maintenance. My loan amount being 1.785. Down payment's going to be 765,000. Get that a little bit lower. That would be even better if we can get that 20. We really want to get that for our buyers. We really want to get that 25%. And anything that's good for any terms that are good for our buyers, it's also good for the seller because because the purchase price, this is just one factor in the whole deal. And as you notice, like I will play with these other variables first before coming to the purchase price. The better terms we can get, the buyer can get, the more they're going to be comfortable paying, which is in turn is good for the seller. So it really is a win-win if you know how to really structure these financing and add a second layer. See a lot of cases the seller is willing to finance part of it. So if you do a 20-year term, my return right there is at 16%. Um, Now, it may not have property management, so you may need to adjust your net operating income based on, like, if you add property management into it. But let's just say everything is the way it should be. We just want to get under contract. Now, if we find that our net's actually going to be less, then we'll negotiate again. And I can talk about how to renegotiate that, but I'm going to try to wrap things up pretty soon. Loan amount's 1.9. The annual debt service is at 184. So my monthly mortgage is going to be 15,400. After I pay that mortgage every month, I'm going to have $8,500 left over. That's my profit. That's 55% more than what my mortgage is. That's where that 1.55 comes in. So strong cap rate, good ROI. I would go under contract to this. And then that net operating income, when I go and I find out that it needs, I'll give you two ways to negotiate. Based on these terms, if we find out that it needs $100,000 worth of work immediately, all I'm going to do is just trade the price. If I find out that the net operating income is different, I'm going to take this 11.25, and let's say the net operating income actually is 246. So now I lose my cap rate. So now I'm going to start adjusting this purchase price to get that cap rate back to 11.25. Why? Because they were advertising 11.25 cap rate. So if they're advertising 11.25 cap rate, that's what we're going to offer them. So when we go in to send an offer on something, we're just going to base the offer based on the information they're giving us. Once we get under contract, the buyer is in complete control of the whole contract. And if we know how these numbers work, we can readjust the purchase price and renegotiate. So if they're advertising 11.25 cap rate, and we find out that they're actually operating at a 9 cap, we're going to adjust the purchase price so we can get that cap rate back. So that's it for me. That is the multifamily deep dive for today. My main cam's not working. I don't know what's going on, but thanks for joining. If you want to know more, if you want to book a one-on-one appointment with me, I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to help and teach and help you find something. So again, I'm your friend. I'm Austin from Houston. Have a great, awesome day. Bye.